Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of the A24 Project here on the Nerd Party. It's time to break out the balloons, pop the streamers, and get out the cake as we look back over our time so far, reviewing the entire back catalogue of A24 films, watching the odd new release during lockdown, and delving into some of their old TV work, as well as speaking to many people involved in the making of these movies. I'm your co-host Alice King, and with me as always is the Robert Pattinson to my Willem Dafoe. He's fond of my lobster, ain't he? It's Lee Hutchison. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm so glad that we've hit this 100th episode. It's definitely quite an achievement. I don't think we anticipated with at the time. I think there was maybe just shy of maybe 80 films, maybe 70 films, and so on. So I never anticipated that we'd manage to milk 100 episodes out of this project. I thought it would be a little folly.
And well, it's all down to you and your many interviews, I think, that have taken us to this magic number, 100 episodes, and still not a single mention or retweet by the A24 Twitter account. What's up with that, A24? We're doing your work for you. We're promoting your films, showcasing the ones that even, people maybe have not seen. We've done that. Not even a candle to show for it. After all this time that we've banged on about those bloody candles, still nothing to show for it. But we soldier on. When I'm not going to be bitter about it. Are you bitter?
No, but I think the biggest disappointment is they replied to you once about sort of like putting was it Under the Skin on and like playing that in Glasgow or something.
Oh yes, the public access one did. Yeah, it's showcased on the side of a dodgy white van driving around Glasgow. But yeah, obviously during lockdown we can't do that. But maybe once things settle down, maybe we'll be able to do that. If not, we'll just do it. On our own back with someone who looks like Scarlett Johansson driving around looking for the Tesco's. Living the dream.
That'll be Glasgow Film Festival 2022. Let's make that happen. Let's get in touch with them.
Yeah, we'll do the special event screenings that they're doing. Yeah, that's good. So the format of tonight's show is that Lee and I are going to be comparing our listicles and diving into the back catalogue of interviews along the way. But before we do, as always, A24 news, and in A24's best, I actually think they do listen to us because they always seem to know when we're recording, because it's as soon as we finished and pressed pause after the record, they then drop some news. And there was a little bit of news that had come out over the last couple of weeks. One was news, I think it dropped on their very own podcast, wasn't it? That Kelly Reichardt was going to do a new movie with A24. Do you want to tell us about this one? I'm sure, because you're a big Kelly Reichardt fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I really like her. Like, it's one of those things, this will be, I think Kelly Reichardt and Michelle Williams have done sort of 3 films together so far. They did Wendy and Lucy, Certain Women, and Meek's Cut Off. So they're kind of reuniting again. So I think it sounds like she's kind of trading the Oregon Trails in for something a little bit different this time. So it is a portrait of an artist on the verge of a career-changing exhibition. As she navigates family, friends, and colleagues in the lead up to her show, the chaos of her life becomes the inspiration for great art. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, First Cow was my one of my favorite films of 2020. So I'm really excited to kind of see what she does next. There was a slight ping of kind of regret at the news because an actor I love, Rene Aubernajois, had been in sort of 2 of her last 2 films really. So obviously he passed away not long before sort of First Cow was released, so it was kind of a bit sad to think that he won't be in this new one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Michelle Williams and Kelly Reichardt cook up.
Yep, and the next one that dropped after we'd finished recording the last episode is that A24 have taken the world rights to Joanna Hogg's under-the-radar ghost story, The Eternal Daughter, starring Tilda Swinton and executive produced by Martin Scorsese. So the 3 of them are teaming up again for a sort of another sort of mystery ghost spectral tale. They obviously all collaborated on the Souvenir Part 1 and potentially Souvenir Part 2 as well. So this will mark a trilogy for all 3 within A24. Apparently it was shot in secret in Wales during the lockdown. the chart the story of a middle-aged daughter and her elderly mother who must confront long-buried secrets when they return to their former family home, a once grand manor that becomes nearly vacant hotel brimming with mystery. So it sounds like pretty much every ghost story that's ever come out of the UK. And I'm assuming that Tilda Swinton will be playing the elderly mother in Grand Budapest Hotel style makeup, and probably her own daughter will be playing her daughter. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I know that Joanna Hogg is a divisive kind of filmmaker amongst sort of critics and film fans. You either
She's
love
a dark
her films,
horse.
yes, yeah, you either kind of love her films or not. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this one, and it seems to be the buzzword, so far is lockdown movie. So yeah, there's been kind of a couple of good ones so far. So I'm looking forward to this one. I wonder how long we'll have to wait to see this one, but I hope it's sooner rather than later. I don't think it'll take them too long to get this one hopefully finished.
No, I mean it could even come before the likes of the Green Knight or something. Who knows? Because that's the thing about these lockdown films is they seem to have been written, conceived, shot in a couple of weeks and are pretty much ready to go. I mean, we've already had Host, the horror film last year. Michael Bay's Songbird was released last month on Amazon Prime, I think, and Ben Wheatley shot a horror film in a couple of weeks, and that screened at Sundance Film Festival. So I mean, who knows? We could be looking at South by Southwest or even Edinburgh, perhaps. Maybe later on. That's when the Souvenir sort of had its UK premiere a couple of years ago. So who knows? We'll get to see. We'll find out. But that's all the news for now. Until, of course, perhaps maybe they'll be lucky enough to ping up a message during the recording, and we can have some late breaking news for you. But in the meantime, on with the episode. And before you hear from us in our own lists, let's go back to the start, sort of, and hear from Lee's very first A24 interview on the show. It's Heredity's Milly Shapiro talking about working on Hereditary, of course.
What was it like as well for the one thing that everyone if you've not seen the film, everyone knows it. There's like the cluck noise that's made, and I've tried and failed to make it sound any way but good. How was that kind of created, and has that been something that you'll find that people at parties or dinner tables are like, oh, can you do that for us? Has that become something you've kind of become almost known for?
Yeah, I think I've become pretty well known for it. A lot of my friends will tease me, so they'll come right up behind me and do the sound. And it was in the script, and I think it was just such a brilliant way of conveying a character because Charlie is a very interesting character, and the clicking is one of her tics. So if she feels like overwhelmed or nervous, she'll click to calm herself down. And I think that really helped me because it gives you a view into the thought process of the character. And my friends do it all the time, and people will ask me to do it, and it was actually complicated coming up with the exact sound. We actually had like a 30-minute meeting just figuring out what type of click there are, because if you really think about it, there's a lot of different sounds that a person can make. And when we decided on it, we were like, that's it, that's the one.
Before you kind of started filming, did you get much of a chance to sort of interact with Tony, Gabriel, and Alex to sort of create a bit of a family unit, or was that something that sort of had to be done on the set on the day?
Me and Alex worked a lot together beforehand. We did some character outings when we were in Utah for filming, and it was very awkward because our characters aren't really the most normal people, and so we would have to do a task. So one of them was go out to eat, and another was buy a jacket, and it would be stuff that are really normal activities, but it would require us to walk around town and interact with people. And so it really helped us develop our relationship with each other and what our characters think of each other. Is Peter annoyed by Charlie? He cares for her, but how much so? How much is it just a bother to him? And then Charlie, how much does she actually care about Peter? And it really helped us because doing those exercises, it just put us in a position where we had to be the characters and we had to live a day in their life almost. And it really helped us.
And you'll hear from a lot more people over the course of this episode about that Lee has managed to contact through social media. Some fantastic names coming up. and I'll get you to tee all those up, Lee, when they come up, and you can sort of give a bit of background as to how you managed to get everyone. But first off, this is one of the first categories chosen by Lee. He has asked us to come up with our top 5 A24 supporting characters, or characters in a supporting role, as they might say at the Academy Awards. So, Lee, you chose this category. Do you want to go first and tell us who your top 5 are? Now, obviously, I think we've got 9 lists that we're going to go through. So, we're not going to go into too in-depth conversation about the reasoning behind them all. I mean, you can basically go through the back catalogue of A24 Project episodes to find out, because we will have covered every single film that we talk about tonight. So, but we'll give more of a flavour of why we think these deserve the spots that they're at. So, Lee, tee us up.
So my supporting characters are number 5, Zeo Shenzu, who plays Nai Nai in The Farewell. I haven't cried more at a character in A24 films than her. Alexa Demi as Alexis in Waves. Could have easily have gone to her role in Euphoria, but yeah, for a character that's only sort of half of the film, she left such a strong impact. And yeah, I am officially an Alexa Demi stan now. At number 3, I've gone with Eve the Cow from First Cow, the titular cow. Then at 2, Ben Whishaw as John with his bleeding nose in The Lobster. And at number 1, Benny Safdie as Nicholas in Good Time.
Excellent list. For me, my supporting characters in an A24 film are at 5, a one-scene wonder, but a hell of a good one. It's the songwriter from Under the Silver Lake. At number 4, I've got Martin in Killing of a Sacred Deer. Incredible performance by Barry Keoghan in that film. Number 3, I've got Montgomery Allen, that's played by Jonathan Majors in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. At number 2, I've got the character of Black Phillip from The Witch. And at number 1, it's Alien from Spring Breakers. Look at my look at my got Scarface on repeat.
That is a hell of a good list, and we didn't even have any doubles as well, which is impressive.
I know this is going to be the interesting, because I did mention this at the start, but basically there are 9 categories that we basically, most of them we knew what we're going to get, so we could compile our lists in advance. However, there is one category each, which is a surprise one. Lee has chosen a category; he already has his choices made. I will have to come up with mine on the spot, hopefully reasonably quickly, and likewise I have one for Lee. So those are the sort of bonus rounds that we've got in that. But speaking of one of the characters from my lists, Black Phillip, here is Daniel Malik himself on being Black Phillip in The Witch.
Yeah, so the audition was very quick, I remember, and it was very there was no notes attached to it necessarily. They kind of just let me do what I wanted, and they had given me this script, so I read the script and I understood that it was obviously in a Shakespearean language, and I assumed that if anyone were to get this role, they need to know how to speak the language. I think that's the main thing that they're looking for. And luckily enough, I was doing enough reading of plays and Shakespeare studying, and so I brought what I did, and they liked it.
Did you was there sort of kind of a couple of different ones that you sort of tried, or was it very much kind of you had kind of zeroed in a very specific style?
Yeah, there's a I think they probably do have this as a take. I did a very I'm not going to do the line reading, but I remember I did this very deep sort of, like, I'll do a little like this, and just talking, and like kind of like that grisly sort of voice. And I think they just stopped and went, "Well, that's great, but let's not make him so much a character, and let's just try to do it with your own voice." And then I was like, "Oh no, I'm getting in my head. I don't like my own voice. What if they don't like it?" And then, but they did. I don't know. I think that's just a reflection of me, that I grew up hating my voice, and at the moment I didn't want to show them what my real voice sounded like. And then I ended up making a fool out of myself by putting on a different voice.
did it evolve any kind of further when you sort of met Robert Eggers and kind of you two kind of bounced off each other? Did it kind of evolve then, or was it by that point he was completely sold on your interpretation of the dialogue and the voice?
Yeah, I know. I think it's the latter. I remember we were walking around set, and he was just talking to me. First, we were just talking about him and I, and then what he was trying to accomplish here and what he wanted out of it. And then he asked me if there was anything I wanted to do, and I said, "Dude, do you remember that take? Did you get to see that take? I did this thing with my voice," and he kind of just looked at me, and I think in his eyes was like, "Oh, just don't, please don't bring this up. Please don't bring this up." And I was just like, I really think you should see this. I really think you should hear this. I think it'll be great for the take." And he was super nice and super polite enough. He's like, "Yeah, sure, give it a whirl." And then I did it, and then he came back to me and he said, "So we're gonna stick to your normal voice. I think it's." And then he just kind of like was a father to me in that sense, where he's like, "You're good enough. What you bring to the table is more than good enough." So I think that's a lesson in life that I am constantly learning.
What was it like on set? What was that experience like, and what was it like with like Kate, Anya, Ralph? What was that dynamic like on set for you?
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually quite funny as well. When I didn't know how the scene itself was going to look like. The first time I saw it was the first time you saw it. It was in when I watched the film in the theaters, and I loved it. And then I started getting interviews, and people started writing things. The voice of Black Phillip, the voice of Black Phillip, and I was like, I was on set. That's me. You just have to like turn off all the lights and crush the blacks a little bit and brighten the screen. You'll see my nose over on your shoulder. But yeah, that's funny. On set, Kate was someone who I immediately connected with. She was the first person I met on set. Her hotel room was on the same level, same floor as I. So we spent a lot of time together, and I remember she knew all the spots in that little town we were shooting in. She had her little favorite lunch spot, and where she would go to eat on a bench that overlooked the river. And she was polite enough to take me, and we spent probably a whole afternoon together, and she was just talking to me about everything. She gave me advice on life and tips on my career and what I wanted to do, and she was nice enough to invite me. She said, "If you're ever back in England and you ever cross over to where she was, to ring her up." Yeah, we got to take pictures and everything, and then I remember that evening, Kate said, "I want to introduce you to Anya and Ralph." They were on set. They were shooting a scene. I only met Ralph maybe for a few hours, and it was the most intimidating thing I've ever. He was the most intimidating person I've ever met in my entire life. But given the fact the scene he had just finished doing, which was the scene where he was eating the mud. So he came back to the hotel and he was completely distressed, and I didn't know if he was also putting on this voice. I didn't know how deep his voice was. And he is a tower of a man as well. So he came over and he kind of just looked over at me. He didn't know who I was for a second. And then Kate was nice enough to introduce us. And he went, "Oh, you're here. That's great. How are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm good. Are you all right?" And then he just immediately went to Kate, and then he hugged Kate. And he just started describing what he went through. And, it's his word, so I won't go into details of that. But I was like, what is this film? What is happening on set? This is crazy. But obviously Ralph absolutely smashed it. And then I met Anya, who was this. I didn't know if she had ever acted before. I didn't know if she was my age or younger than but I remember she had this fireball of an energy, and she was super polite and super nice and caring. And she wanted to know everything about me, and she wanted to know what I wanted to bring to the table, and did I want to rehearse or not. And she was just a super loving, fun woman, and now she is who she is, and she's completely blown up, and I'm very happy for her.
One of those things, like I was thinking as you were talking there, sort of like, what was it like to sort of prepare for that kind of famous scene, what's it like to live deliciously scene? How did you sort of prepare you and Anya together for that one? What was your kind of process?
If I can remember, this was many years ago. But I do remember we didn't rehearse much. It wasn't too much. It was and it's a blessing in disguise in the sense that I was only on set for so long. and it is just that scene. So it's kind of an in and out. It's kind of like this, let's not focus too much about it. If it is the pivotal scene, it is the ending scene, and it did end up becoming this memorable scene. But I think it's because we put just enough work into it. We didn't overwork it. We kind of just let it go. And I remember we did a few takes, and I walked around her a few times, and we did it different ways, and we tried a few different things, but it wasn't too. I remember it was over before I knew it was over. They sort of said, "That's a wrap on Daniel," and I went, "Oh, that's it. We're done. Like, I don't get to play anymore."
So, Lee, how was it to talk to the voice of one of the most iconic characters in A24 history, the only character to have received a Funko Pop so far?
Yeah, it's one of those ones, like, I think, like, in my head, and I'm sure you're the same, like, we have, like, there's always a list of, like we've talked about their supporting characters there. I think there's a lot of emphasis sometimes in sort of, like, A24 marketing and movie discussions about, oh, it's the Florence Pugh character, it's the Ladybird. Like, these movie series is kind of filled with, like, hundreds of amazing kind of supporting characters, whether they're in scene, like, films for just a scene or just like a moment or two that really leave a strong impact. And I think, like, Black Phillip, like maybe quite a few of our guests that we've had over the years, might have been a sort of small role, but sort of their impact is huge. And you kind of look online and you see sort of Black Phillip artwork, discussions, stories, myths. You know, a lot of people don't realize that that was a real person kind of there. So yeah, it's all about kind of like, I hope that on this podcast we're able to shine lights on the actors and the roles that maybe just don't get as much as attention as some others do.
Absolutely, and I believe he's still living life deliciously on The Expanse, a show which I've never actually managed to start watching, but I think it might be on Amazon Prime now, so I think I need to give it a go. Next up in our categories is another one chosen by Lee, and he has asked us for our top 5 most overlooked films. This should be quite interesting. We've covered every single film. Obviously, if you are perhaps a member of an A24 Facebook group, you will get the usual suspects thrown at pretty much every single day in Hereditary, Midsummer, The Lighthouse, etc. But Lee wants to know what films I and he consider the most overlooked and are the ones that you should root around in the back catalogue and make special time for. So, shall I go first on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. At number 5, I have chosen The Last Black Man in San Francisco. An absolutely fantastic film, which I just don't think many people actually saw. Certainly not in the UK. It got a very limited release, and I think it actually had quite a small release in America as well. But I think Joe Talbot is a real talent. It's got some amazing sort of visuals in it. Just fantastic film. Please check it out. Number 4, a film which I would not have probably watched if not for the project, but I actually was really quite taken with this film. It was quite mysterious, wasn't really sure what was going on, but I did enjoy it, and that was The Black Coat's Daughter. Number 3, a film which I am a huge fan of. It's got a bit of a cult following here in the UK. I'm not sure how well it did in America, so maybe a few people haven't seen it, but it is Locke, starring Tom Hardy as one man driving along the road after trying to fix a mistake, and it is a film where I have never been more invested in the pouring of concrete in my entire life. I still want to know what happened with the concrete pour years after seeing the film for the first time. Number 2 is probably one of the most divisive films of the A24 project. Some people are huge fans of it. Some people have never seen it. Some people just hate it. It's a film which will make a hell of an impression when you see it, and that is Kevin Smith's Tusk. I know it made a hell of an impression on Lee when he saw it for the first time, if only for the fact it was probably not the film he was expecting to be watching. And number 1 potential, I think, here for a bit of crossover potentially with Lee's list is probably the most misunderstood, mismarketed film on the A24 back catalogue, and I think there was no other film that was going to get the top spot for me. It's a film which, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it, and you probably need to see it at least twice to understand what's going on, and that is Under the Silver Lake. What about you, Lee?
Yeah,
What have you
interesting
got?
choices. There is no crossover here, Dallas. Under the Silver Lake nearly made my cut, but I like to think that on this podcast we've turned it from an overlooked film into a success. But the reality was I looked at like my top like 10, 15 or whatever, and Under the Silver Lake was in there, so I was like, oh, I'm going to take it out. So I have gone with A Most Violent Year at 5. For A Most Violent Year, for a lot of people that was probably their introduction to Oscar Isaacs. Oscar Isaacs and Jessica Chastain, all about their sort of oil fuel empire in New York in the early 80s. Fantastic movie. Never Going Back, Booksmart, before Booksmart came along, like Booksmart stole all the oxygen away from this film. This is one that I've watched a kind of a few times now and I really enjoyed. So Never Going Back. Obvious Child.
Did you see the tweet today or yesterday about with Christopher Mintz-Plasse, McLovin saying that they need to do a sequel to Superbad one day, but with girls, and everyone was like, I think that's actually already been made. It was called Booksmart, or potentially Never Going Back as well.
Yeah, Never Going Back has some of the best gross out humor I've seen in a while as well. Like I cannot forget that final scene in sort of the burger joint, and the cascade of swearing in the supermarket that would make Malcolm Tucker blush as well. So yeah, I've gone with that. Obvious Child, the abortion comedy from A24, that was a hoot. Number 2, The Death of Dick Long, criminally underrated film, one that I feel like A24 has given sort of very little attention to, but a fantastic film, one of the best kind of finales of any A24 film. And number 1, very similar to Under the Silver Lake, a film that wasn't properly marketed properly. I think A24 had high hopes for it at the Oscar ceremonies or Academy Awards, etc., but kind of pulled back, and that was Waves, a film of 2 parts, but both parts of equal quality, and one that's really left a strong impression on me from the first time I watched it.
Yeah, all excellent choices, and the fact that we haven't had a crossover so far, fantastic. We'll see how long that goes. But next up, we're going to hear from one of the biggest names that we've had on the A24 project. The moment from a podcast, basically, we went viral with many people mistaking us for the A24 project when Lee got David Lowery talking about The Green Knight and it getting delayed. That was all the way back in about April or May. So that was great. But here is David Lowery talking about the infamous pie scene in A Ghost Story, and not the infamous pie scene from the episode of the podcast where I ate a pie during our review.
Did you expect this really heartfelt pie scene to sort of resonate so much with audiences and become so popular with viewers?
I knew that it would be something. Like I knew that it would be. I kind of figured it would be the moment where people either stick with the movie or give up on it. I was like, that's the moment where people are gonna like walk out of the theater, or it's the moment where they're gonna sit down and be into it. I didn't know if it would be emotional for people. I have a real difficulty gauging emotion. Like I'm not, like I said, like I don't set out to make emotional movies. I don't ever want to, sit down and like say I'm going to write a tearjerker today. That's never my intent. But I try to be emotionally sincere in what I do, and I knew that moment needed to be an emotionally cathartic one, and I knew that just because of what it was, because of how long it was going to be, and how restrained it was going to be, that it was going to be a moment that if people saw the movie, they would probably remember it. So there was some degree of like, we knew that was an important moment in the movie, and if it worked, it would be something people would talk about. As with the movie at large, I didn't expect it to connect the way that it has, or to become. I didn't know it was going to be as iconic, so to speak, as it has become. And I'm glad it is. I mean, I think it's probably the best scene I've ever directed, and maybe it will remain that. I don't know if I'll ever do something like that again, but it is, it's emotionally sincere in the best possible way, and I think audiences respond because of that. And I should probably take a lesson from that.
So Lee, what was it like to talk to David Lowery?
it's amazing. Like, we spoke quite early on in lockdown, and I never thought we would we would kind of go through that again. Actually, I've, like a little behind the scenes nugget. I've had since a second encounter with him. I interviewed his wife, Augustine Fazell, a couple of weeks ago. So that'll be an episode dropping in a kind of couple months time. And he dropped into the interview to drop off a coffee, and it was quite surreal to be on the other end of a Zoom call, just being like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, not too bad. Yourself? Yeah, good. Yeah, that was a surreal moment. Yeah, it was amazing to get someone like David Lowery on the podcast. Definitely one of our most popular episodes, and yeah, it was amazing to just really dive into a ghost story with the man himself. So yeah, that was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and of course, being a ghost story being the inspiration for our podcast artwork as well. Give us a scoop. What's his facial hair looking like during lockdown? Is it still a mustache, or has it got beard?
Yeah, it was looking very, very impressive. Still kind of a nice shiny head as well. So yeah, the man's looking good, and I'm excited to see what comes next from him when it comes to his indie movies. I think the next film up will be sort of a Disney film, but I'm sure there's always something potentially up his sleeve.
That's what these A24 directors do after they do an A24 film. They go off and do Disney, isn't it? Like Barry Jenkins doing A Lion King 2. But next up is one of my categories, and I have asked for the top 5 musical moments from A24. So Lee, what have you picked for us? I think there's potential for crossover here.
Potentially. So yeah, I have gone with at 5, the Sex Choir from Midsummer. We've also had an interview going behind the scenes on that one. At 4, Moonlight with Nicholas Britell, The Middle of the World. Number 3, the Spring Breakers trailer, Skrillex's Scary Monsters and Nice Spirits. If you ever watched that trailer, that music has really left a strong impression. At number 2, it's the soundtrack for The Last Black Man in San Francisco by Emile Mosseri. And at number 1, it's Nancy Punk's Fuck Off from Green Room.
All excellent choices. I like also the fact that you've gone down the sort of score route and stuff like that, because I've gone with different options. We shall see. There's a ever so slight crossover. Actually, no, you went with the score for Last Black Man in San Francisco, because I actually had the a cappella performance of Are You Going to San Francisco by the same singer who did We Got 5 on It, which is just, it was incredible to find out that afterwards. So that was in joint 5th place with the Oscar Isaac dancing from Ex Machina that became a meme, because of course everything, things great, things become memes. Number 4 was from a film which I wasn't particularly keen on, but I have to give props to the opening sequence of Climax. And if you've ever seen the opening sequence of Climax to the tune of Jellicle Cats on the internet, it makes it even better. Number 3, James Franco singing Every Time by Britney Spears from Spring Breakers. Number 2, the infectious dance number from American Honey, where they're dancing to We Found Love in a Walmart. And then number 1 is the songwriter sequence from Under the Silver Lake, where the songwriter basically tells Andrew Garfield's character that he's basically responsible for every single popular pop song that he's ever listened to in his entire life, and they actually don't really mean what he thinks he means. It's one of my favorite scenes from an A24 film. It's just, I was expecting it to be like a really famous person under what looked like prosthetic makeup. I still don't really know who actually played him in the end, but it's always one of those mysteries. But those are my choices. What do you think of them?
Those are an amazing choices. Quite a few of them were sort of on my secondary systems list. So there's some really awesome choices there, Dallas.
Excellent. So now we're going to hear from Bayne Gibby on what it's like to work on a Greta Gerwig film with Lady Bird. And if you haven't noticed already, there is actually a running order through these interviews, and basically they're in chronological order from when those films were released from A24. So yeah, if you've picked up on that already, well done you. So let's go to Bayne Gibby.
We shot in Pasadena at a functioning high school. So by this time we're into September. So I think the audition was like the very end of July. And then the shoot, we're into the school year, very beginning of the school year. and it was a functioning high school. So there were kids, we were in the gymnasium, and there were kids, the bell would ring, and then you would just hear like this massive rush of kids going down the hall and like this massive noise, and we would have to just like hold until they went into the next period. And so that was really fun, because it wasn't like, oh, we're on this set, that's supposed to feel like a high school. It was like, it had all the smells and like the squeak of that gymnasium floor, and the banners, that like all the banners that you have up, and like all those choking hazard signs and everything. Like it was all very, real. And I just remember it being a really fantastic day that I did not want to end, because Greta's, obviously she started as an actor. And I think that the best directors are people who are actors first. And she does this thing where everybody on the set wears a name tag.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which is very cool, because for years I have been saying, it's a certain kind of torture when you're the new person, or you're going to be there for a day on a film or a TV set. Oftentimes it's, if you're the guest, you're just there for a day, and you don't know who is who. You can see the names beforehand on the call list, but when you get there and all of a sudden there's like a bunch of people talking to you and pushing you, okay, you're going to go over here and get mic'd, and then you're going to go see Sam for this, and then Jill's over here, and you're like, who? And I've been saying for years, I just wish people would wear a name tag that had their name and their position, so that you didn't have to pretend like you knew what was happening all the time. And so she had one. Everybody who was not on camera had one, and she was like, yeah, I mean, we want everybody to know each other's names and to know where to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not something you would know unless you had been in the position where you're trying. I mean, there's so many times where I was I've tried to pretend I knew who I was supposed to go see and what, so, I mean, and that's the least of it. She just had a very, sort of very easy rapport with the actors. There's oftentimes on sets, there's a real high level of stress. You're racing with the clock, or you're racing with the light, or, certain elements. We have to be out of here at this time, and we have to get this. And there's like this breakneck pace. She sort of made it feel very relaxed, and like, okay, now we're going to do it this way, and now we're going to do it this way. And there were several different endings that we shot for that scene. She let us sort of do a couple alternate endings. One was where Saoirse's Lady Bird and I got into a really big kind of shouting match back and forth. And then the principal says, like, I think it's best if you go, and I just leave. There were all these sort of different, which was so fun and so unexpected that we would get to do those different things and improv, and that she trusted us to do that. And then, of course, I think they picked the best option in the movie, which is that Lady Bird's status at the end of it is way higher than mine, because she puts me in my place and humiliates me. But it was just one of those delightful experiences that I wish I could have been there for a month and sort of gotten to work with her even longer.
So what was it like to do that interview with you? Talking about Greta Gerwig, because I know you're a huge fan of Miss Gerwig, aren't you?
And so was Bayne Gibby. So yes, a small world like that. Yeah, it's one of those ones, like Bayne Gibby. It was like his appeared in Parks and Recreation, Mad Men, The Comeback, a lot of stuff that I've really enjoyed as well. So yeah, it was a real pleasure. Like, we have had no interviews really before from sort of the Lady Bird film set itself. So that was a really nice one to tick off, because I know how popular sort of Lady Bird is with our listeners.
Yep, and now it's time for the first surprise round of the evening. Lee, it's over to you. What have you got for me?
So, Dallas, this is a slight A24 twist on it. I am going to give you...
Oh, it's one of your... Oh, is this one of these things where you kind of bend the rules to the point where it's kind of about the thing you're talking about, but it's not really.
Well, I am going to give you an A24 project.
Oh, it's a not A24 but, isn't it? It's a not A24 but.
No.
The top 4 films which are not A24 but seem like they're A24.
It's a quiz. So I know that you are you love your games, you love your board games. I'm going to surprise you with a quiz. Yep, and I'm pretty confident you are going to do quite well in this one. So there is, I think, there's some points up for grabs here. So I've got 10 questions for you, Dallas.
Okay.
So the first question is, this is, and listeners, feel free to play along at home. This was inspired by a friend of mine's podcast recently celebrated 100 episodes, and they decided to do a little quiz about the show themselves. So we're going to go meta here. We're going to turn it on ourselves. So the first question, Dallas, and you can get a point if you're within about 4. How many guests have we recorded interviews with so far? So we've still got some to come out. Keep that in mind. How many guests have we recorded interviews with so far?
Okay, so this would be the guests interview, not guests on the episodes with us reviewing the films.
Not our normie pals and stuff like that, but like people that have been involved in A24 projects.
Oh, but were there any double episodes where you would have had 2 people speaking? No, I'm going to say 46.
56.
56.
We've had episodes we've had the Waves interview where we had 5 people on at once, for example. So 56, yes. And we've got a couple already recorded. We haven't counted the ones that haven't been put in the can yet, but 56 is what we're sitting on out of our episodes so far.
You see, I was thinking episodes there. I think, would it be 46 interview episodes?
Potentially, yeah, in and around that, I think, yeah.
Potentially, yeah. But of course, yeah, Waves, there was a round table with a 4 cast and then the director as well.
Yeah, and Death of Dick Long, that was 3 as well. Yeah, so
of course, yes.
So question 2, here's a chance to put some points on the board. What is our most popular guest interview episode? And there is 5 downloads in it as of this morning.
Valeriia Karaman.
Yeah, correct.
From the Lighthouse.
Valeriia Karaman from the Lighthouse edges out David Lowery with 5 downloads. So there you go. You've got a point on the board there.
Good thing I didn't wait till tomorrow for the quiz. It could have changed by then.
So what is our most popular movie episode?
It's Killing a Sacred Deer and Ladybird, or no? I think I'm going to go with American Honey and Moonlight.
It is The Killing of a Sacred Deer and Ladybird.
Oh, it's the one I just meant. You see, that makes it worse. Is the fact that I did mention the episode it was, but then switched to the other one. How was it? Is it much between the two of them, or?
I think that's relatively close, but yeah, that's our most popular downloaded episode. So, question 4: how many guests have we had on that have worked on Midsommar?
There was the person who played Florence Pugh's sister, and then there was someone involved in the sex choir, but not the one pushing the buttocks. But then I'm going to say 3.
The answer is 4. So we had Rebecca Johnson, Claudia Chiney, Gurgley Oben, and Teddy Blanks, who worked on the title design for Midsommar as well. How many guests have we had on that have worked with Sofia Coppola?
I'm going to say 3 at the moment.
It's 3 at the moment and 4 overall. Yes. So Katie Chang, Evangeline Young, Jimena Madrid, who's out next week, and Mike Keller. So there we go. So you've got your second point now. So what is our longest episode? And you get a bonus point for being within 10 minutes of the length.
I think the longest episode was the one that I picked for most popular, and that was American Honey and Moonlight. And was it about 2 hours and 20 minutes?
You're going to kick yourself. It is the Robert Eggers, The Killing of a Sacred Deer and Ladybird episode with 3 hours and 16 minutes. So yes, that was our most popular and longest episode by far for the movies.
Oh no, I was thinking of recording time live on the day. Of course, there was interviews and stuff. You see, because I remember that we joked that it was basically as long as American Honey when we recorded the episode.
So, how many episodes before we hosted our first guest, and who are they for a bonus point?
First guest was Milly Shapiro, and that would have been 10 episodes before.
Correct, yeah. You said 11 earlier on, and I was not going to correct you. So, yeah, that is you moved up.
She was
4
episode
points.
11, you see, but 10 episodes before, you see.
Yes. Well, no, she was definitely episode 10. Episode 9, Son of a Gun, and While We're Young. 10, Milly Shapiro, and 11 was Cut Bank and Ex Machina. So, question 8. When was our last double pairing of movies, and a bonus point for the movie?
I think it would have been Uncut Gems and In Fabric was the last one.
Incorrect. It was episode 79, and it was First Cow in Boys State.
Oh.
So number 9. How many guests have we had on that have worked with Robert Pattinson?
No, I never forgot. I never forgot. That's 3. I'm going to say 4.
Correct. And they were Robert Eggers, Valeriia Karaman, Logan Hawkes, and Claire Tran. So final question, and you will get a bonus point if you're within 20. How long has it taken us to reach 100 episodes?
I'm going to say 816.
820. Well done. You get a point for that.
Oh.
So you have got a grand total of 6 points. So well done.
I should have brushed up beforehand. See, this is the thing. He says, I've got a list, a surprise list. You come up with a surprise list, and then he stings us on me. Unfortunately, I only have a surprise list for you. I'm sorry.
I should add, I said a surprise round, so there you go. I've got my way around there. So yeah, I thought you did very well, and I'm sure some listeners got some points at home as well.
Yeah, because if anyone has ever listened to Filibuster, and whenever we do episodes where we have to come up with top 5 lists and stuff like that, Lee always manages to bend the rules to his advantage, and he's done it once again. So there you go. It makes me want to go all the way through Skype or Zoom and basically punch him in the face, but I did not hit him. I did not. Oh, hi Mark. It's time for Greg Sestero, talking about the adaptation of The Disaster Artist. Over to you, Greg.
Well, yeah, was there any ever sort of concerns about being turned into film? One that might not be faithful to those that were involved, like such as yourself, and it could be potentially like a parody or a big in-joke. Was there ever sort of that kind of quality control where you're like, we want this to be faithful and respectful of those people that have put this film out?
I could just tell from what James... First of all, James wrote a review in Vice about what he thought about the book and the movie, and just the way he saw the story was so spot on and smart. And he referenced like P.T. Anderson films and all the things you'd want your story to elevate to. So I knew he had the right angle, and I knew having Seth Rogen as a producer, he always puts on a good show, and they got really good writers to adapt the story. So I knew they were going to go for it. I knew it wasn't kind of like a stoner joke comedy. So I was never concerned. I mean, really, the concern is that people stop it from getting made or just don't believe in it. That's really where my head was at. It's like, let's just get this thing made, and I think that the source material and everything is unique enough to make it something memorable.
Did you get to meet with Dave Franco before he was sort of cast to talk to him about playing you, and did you have anyone in mind? Like you mentioned, sort of Tommy had a few folk in mind who could maybe play him. Who did you originally envision playing you?
When I was writing the book, I was thinking Javier Bardem as Tommy and Ryan Gosling as Greg. But I think once James brought up the idea of brothers, I thought it was a cool choice that they could make work between them, because the story is in a lot of ways about two guys that were brothers in a different way, and I thought that was a good choice.
And did you get did he reach out to you for any sort of advice, kind of get into the mind of Greg Sestero? What was the sort of dynamic?
Yeah, we had a couple great meetings, and we really connected on the fact that, we both came to LA trying to be actors and having to kind of put in that time of auditioning and doing these weird projects that we really think are going to work, and then we see them and we're like, oh dear God, this is bad. And just kind of trying to keep the faith. We both come from a similar area up in Northern California. We both like the same sports team, so we had a lot in common, and just it was funny to see Dave being introduced to this world, because I know he hadn't seen The Room, and James kind of brought him in, and so it was funny to see just how, through his eyes, just how weird the whole thing is. So yeah, but we had some really good talks, and he really got what I went through.
Did you get to sort of visit the film during the production, or did you want to sort of keep yourself sort of hands off?
Yeah, I mean, I showed up just to enjoy. I never thought like, they should do it this way or that way. I just was excited to be there, and again, to see it was such a fun set to be on, because everybody was working so hard but also having so much fun, and the cast was incredible. I went the day that they filmed with Sharon Stone and Bryan Cranston, and getting to see these people recreate your story in a way was very therapeutic, and the whole thing was just really enjoyable.
Was it quite surreal to see a film being made of a book you've made, of an experience that you've had? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, it just kind of, again, it made you realize, every experience you have, whatever struggles you have, or good times, or just your journey, there's nothing really goes to waste. And it made me realize all those times I was at Canners, wondering what was going to happen, or all those late night walks. It all was amounting to something, and so it made me value the time you have, and to make the most of each day, and to look at things positively rather than getting down on yourself.
Yeah, and if you want to listen to any of these episodes, they're all on the back catalogue of the A24 Project. Just head on, click the like, subscribe, download them all, listen to them, and then always let us know what you think about them. But it's time for my surprise round. There is no quiz, it is just a list. But Lee, I have my list. I'm going to say them afterwards, because I don't want to give you any hints or cop-outs and just picking the same films that I do. But off the top of your head, thinking through the pantheon of A24, I want you to tell me your top 5 endings or final shots from an A24 film.
I definitely think Under the Skin would be in there. That kind of last scene and sort of like the snow, I love that. So I'd have that. The Farewell, I can't spoil it, because I still feel like that film shouldn't be spoiled. Like, if you know, like that film has multiple endings, and each ending kind of completely gets you each time. So I'm going to go with The Farewell. Uncut Gems, again, that's another one you can't really spoil. Yeah, I'll go with that ending as well. I feel there's going to be a bit more overlap with these ones. First Reformed, that's another. I really need to pick endings where I can say, oh, like this happened and this happened. The ending of First Reformed certainly leaves an impression, and it's a toss up now between The Lobster and Saint Maud. I'm going to put them as joint. Saint Maud's ending, again, one that is only just sort of now rolling out into America, but when you see it, you're going to be stuck with it for about 15 months, I can promise you that. And The Lobster, I am still thinking about it and debating it in my head all these months later. I will definitely have to do a bonus episode on something like this one day. So what would be your top 5?
At number 5, I also we're finally crossing over here. I had The Lobster. I just love the ambiguity of the final sort of shot in sort of thinking about did he or didn't he. I'm going to leave it at that. Number 4 was also Saint Maud, a new brand new film for A24. Well, not brand new film, brand new release for A24. But yeah, straight into my top 5. Number 3, final shot of Midsummer. Number 2, Uncut Gems. I've talked about my reaction at the London Film Festival several times on the show, so I think everyone knows how I feel about that one. And number 1 for me, it's not even a shot, it's a sound which I've never been able to get out of my head ever since I saw it for the first time or heard it for the first time. And it is the final few seconds of Enemy. And if you know, like you say, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, go watch it and then you'll know too. So yeah, good list. Good list on both of us. I think yes, excellent list. Yes. So now, coming up for the interviews, it's time for a bit of an 8th grade double bill as we go over to Bo Burnham on the red carpet at Glasgow Film Festival, talking to us about a potential Boyhood-style sequel. And then Krisha Fairchild, has a rather hilarious tale about meeting Bo Burnham as well. So over to them. Hi, tell us, A24 Project.
Hey.
How does it feel to have the film sort of come to international audiences and have sort of different age ranges and generations accept the film and embrace the film? Because, you know, the technology, they may not be so familiar with it, but it's the struggles and experiences seem to be quite universal.
Yeah, it's great. You know, I mean, all we want is for people to connect with the film and see the film. So the fact that we're here with, you know, the little weird film we made, you know, a year and a half ago in upstate New York with a bunch of 8th graders is incredible. So, yeah, we just hope people can continue to connect with it. It's just like it's just a privilege. It's sort of surreal.
Yeah, and in your stand-up, which is sort of related to this, you mentioned about always the need to perform on social media. Do you think this film will help people sort of learn that they need to sort of balance the online and offline sides of their personality?
Yeah, you know, the film really isn't trying to instruct people on what to do or how to feel. Like, hopefully, you know, things like that, you know, it can hopefully inspire a conversation to have about that. But I didn't want the film to sort of finger wag or tell you what to do, or I think there's a little too much commentary on the internet and not enough just portrayal of how it feels. So the film really is just trying to sort of portray the subjective experience of what it means for this person to be online. And then if you want to draw your own conclusions based on that, that's great. But, you know, the film, I don't want the film to have that conversation for you.
Absolutely. And finally, you've said that you'd like to work with Elsie again. Could we potentially see a like Before Sunrise style trilogy where we revisit her in 12th grade or college,
maybe.
sophomore year?
The truth is, she's like a kid, and I want to let her live her life. You know, I don't want to like immediately have her thinking about the next film she's in, and then. Or you get the Boyhood effect where then like the kid becomes a photographer because they were on set so much they of course developed an interest in photography. You know what I mean? Like, so I gotta like let her like live her life, and then, you know, in 4 years we'll check back in if we want to do something, we'll do it. But the kid deserves some space.
Great, thanks very much.
Take it easy.
Here's another little one that you'll like. 8th grade, Bo Burnham. What a great guy he is. Okay, so A24 had an Oscar party, and they invited it to me, and me to it, and I was going to be in LA, and I'm like, oh my God, I'll go to an Oscar party, that'll be fun. So I'm sitting in this party, and there's this very tall man, and he's like staring at me from across the room, and I'm like, okay, whatever, you know, and he keeps staring at me, and I finally he was standing next to someone I knew. And I got up and I went over and I spoke to the guy, and the guy said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, you know, I'm at parties like this, I'm like completely." I said, "I've been invisible since I was 50, and then there was the whole Krisha thing, and then I was visible for a while, and now I'm like invisible again." And this tall creature bends way over, very close to my face, and he says, "Absolutely not invisible to me. I can't take my eyes off of you." And I went, "Thank you." I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm nobody. My name is Bo, and I'm going to be doing a film for A24." And I went, "You are? That's so cool. What's it called?" Oh yeah, it's just a little film about young kids and everything. It's like it's nothing compared to Krisha. But I just needed to tell you. And he started to like fan on me, and I'm like, no, tell me about your film. And there was like this little moment, and then he just started, telling me about the film, and I went, "That sounds really interesting." And he's like, well, I hope so. A24 thinks it's going to be good, but I hope so. And then somebody calls to me from across the room, and I'm like, "Okay, good luck, Bo." And I reach up and give him a hug, and I go over and I sit down next to my friends, and they're like, "What were you doing talking to Bo Burnham?" And I'm like, "Who?" They're like, "Bo Burnham." And I'm like, I have no idea who he was. The tall guy. I'm so out of it. I'm almost 70 years old. How do I know who Bo Burnham is? Right? And they tell me he has like millions of followers on social media. And I went, "What does he do?" And they said, "He's really funny." And I went, "He did not say a single funny thing to me. We talked very, very seriously. He's funny?" And then, so that's my Bo Burnham in filmmaker mode. Story, and he again also found A24 to just be this incredibly nurturing place. It's like a place where you can bring the craziest thing in the world to them, and they'll listen and they'll go, "Huh, I want to hear more about this," instead of "You're out of your mind." And that's what creative people need, and that's what they're giving them. And Trey is he's been blessed, he says. And it's true to have done all three of his films with him.
My smile listening to that Bo Burnham story could stretch from Scotland to Mexico, where you are just now. That is just a brilliant story. I would love to have been a fly on the wall watching that one. That was just magic.
It really, I mean, later on, of course, what was the first thing I did when I got home? I looked him up and I was like, "Holy, he's really famous." And I had a moment of like, "Oh, I wonder if he was hurt that I didn't recognize him." And then I went, "No, he was humility itself. He was self-denigrating. He was to the point of like I wanted to say, "Go Bo, go Bo." What a great thing that a guy like him, with all that in him, finds A24. What a great thing that a guy like Trey, Robert Eggers. I mean, these guys that just are like, they're drawn to the freedom that they feel. And then what they also find is a support system unlike any other.
So, Bo was my first A24 interview, my first red carpet interview, and he was a lovely chap, lovely to speak to, very, very tall. But I know when I mentioned this is one of my interview choices to put on the show, you said that you had to have that story from Krisha. You said it was one of many, many highlights in our full-length interview, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would love to get her back on the podcast. I think like I'm going to find some sort of excuse to get her back on for sure.
Absolutely. Next up in the rankings is the chance to rank one of the most prolific actors in the A24 catalogue. Lee wanted to know where we would each rank the 4 Robert Pattinson films, which he has done so far. Obviously, there's crossover in this because we're both using the same ones, but will we have the exact same order? Let's find out. Lee, what have you got at number 4?
So I've gone with The Rover.
I've gone with High Life. At number 3.
Ooh. I've gone with High Life.
I've gone with The Rover. Number 2.
The Lighthouse.
I also have The Lighthouse. Which means by process of elimination, I guess we both have Good Time at number 1. Why did
Correct.
you put it at number 1?
It was a tough one to pick between sort of The Lighthouse and Good Time, but yeah, I think Good Time, you see a few more different sides of Robert Pattinson's kind of personality and acting range, and I think it was a hugely important film when people were sort of still maybe thinking of Pattinson as the Twilight guy. Like a lot of people would always kind of default to, when you've seen Good Time, that'll be the film that kind of helps you change your mind. So yeah, Good Time probably edges it.
Yeah, no, I think that was the reason I had it as well. It was the film that showed me what Pattinson was capable of, and I think it's still weird to think that if I went back about 12 years, 13 years to December of 2008 when the first Twilight movie came out. If you'd told me that in 2020, 2021 that my most anticipated actors to see in a movie would be Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, I would have laughed you out the building. But here we are, Robert Pattinson down for everything he sees, and then Kristen Stewart, they've somehow managed to actually transform it into Princess Diana, so for a new film that she's doing. So yeah, who knows? And Kristen Stewart only done one A24 film so far. Kristen, sort it out, get back on the A24 train. We need to know what's going on. Next up, from the interviews, is one of the interviews which caught me out on that round, from The Death of Dick Long. Lee managed to speak to many of the cast members, but here he speaks to Virginia Newcomb about what it was like to film the revelation scene from The Death of Dick Long. And again, if you know, you know.
The film kind of bubbles and then builds this tension of the mystery behind the death of Dick Long, and explodes in this incredible kitchen scene, which, you know, we're doing this interview at the start of November, and I suspect is going to be on many of these top 10 scenes of the year list. I'd love to dive into that scene and find out what was the process like for shooting it, preparing for it, and was this always the one from even the audition process, and you get the role of thinking, this is the big scene, this is the moment that's going to be the, you know, the real kind of climax, to, in a way, perhaps, of the film?
You know, it's the script unfolds in such a beautiful way. It's one thing that is just immediately, it's on those pages, and so you read it, and yeah, it's the moment. It's a big reveal. It kind of makes or breaks a lot of people's experience with the film, and so we actually all kind of non-verbally agreed to not touch it a lot. We didn't talk about it a lot. I mean, I know the guys talked about it a little more, you know, kind of what they felt like really went down. But that was kind of part of what, you know, I was saying is kind of made me feel isolated, is because I felt like Billy liked to call Lydia the straight man, and we kind of experience it with her, this big reveal, and the brokenness of it, and the heartbreak of it. And so it's so heavy and so dark that I just didn't work that scene very much. I didn't read it a lot. I didn't over prepare it, so that in the moment that we could really live it in its rawness. You know, there's just some scenes you read and you're like, okay, actually staying away from that until the day is going to be really not only healthy for me, but I think good to keep the work on in its nervous, like nerve ending kind of space, as opposed to over intellectualizing it, which I can do. I love breaking down scripts, and Billy entertained me in that way. Like, Billy and I would talk a lot about, like, what does this mean? And he's a super smart writer. But, you know, for this one, I had to keep it in my body and just feel it. And I think that the editing, my scene partner, obviously, like, all the elements really supported that. And it's really fun it's one of those things that's fun for me to rewatch, because I just feel it all again. It's so visceral and it's fun to experience an audience shock with that one.
So, Lee, you were championing this film ever since you had managed to see it. I think did you download it? Was it a US iTunes thing that you managed to see it before anyone else, and we're basically banging the drum loud and fast for everyone when it sort of debuted in the UK at the Glasgow Film Festival, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think we're still kind of doing it as well. Like, it's a really popular episode, actually, with listeners and downloads. So it kind of shows, like, what we kind of do hope to do with this podcast is it's not just reviewing you know, the usual kind of films and so on, but it's also kind of shining a light on, you know, films like The Death of Dick Long that kind of flew under the radar with sort of A24 sort of like publicity department and kind of, you know, word of mouth. And I think it's one of those ones, like, when people find this film, they're instantly want to talk about it. You feel like you share a secret. You know, when we interviewed all the people involved in it, like, every one of them had a stipulation of, like, we don't want to sort of spoil the ending or anything like that. And I think like that is a really cool thing to have, and it's one of those things that, again, it's great watching that film with audiences for the first time or recommending it to friends and hearing their responses to it. So yeah, a really good film that I think deserves a lot more attention for people. Yeah,
I still remember, I think I watched it with Oasis, who's been on the show recently, to discuss Rami and stuff like that. I think we were both in the same screening. I think we both sort of turned and looked at each other when that happened, and we're like, what? And again, if you know, you know. If not, go watch the film, then go listen to the interviews, and then, yeah, we don't want to spoil it for you. So next on our rundown of the A24 project is we're getting into good stuff now. The best performances in an A24 film. Not best characters, but best performances. So, Lee, let's come to you. Actually, should we go turnabout on this one? Give it a bit more tension and get into the top spot. Who have you got as your number 5 best performance in an A24 film?
So I've got Kelvin Harrison Jr. as Tyler in Waves.
Excellent choice. I have gone with Tom Hardy in Locke for basically managing to keep my attention for an entire film pretty much all by himself in a car. So yeah, and again, getting me invested in that concrete. Who have you got number 4?
I have got Trevante Rhodes, who plays Chiron, the adult Chiron in Moonlight.
I have gone with Elsie Fisher from 8th grade.
Good choice.
What have you got number 3?
I have got Elsie Fisher, who plays Kayla from 8th grade.
Excellent. At number 3 for me, I've got Robert Pattinson in Good Time, as previously mentioned. Who have you got at number 2?
I have got Robert Pattinson as Connie from Good Time.
For me, number 2, my top second spot is Adam Sandler as Howie Ratner in Uncut Gems. And who have you got at the top spot?
Adam Sandler as Howie from Uncut Gems.
Which means that you have not mentioned my number 1 pick, one of the all-time great A24 performances, one of the all-time great performances, and the performance probably more than any other that should have been nominated for an Oscar and wasn't. It was Toni Collette in Hereditary. If nothing else, for that amazing dinner sequence, I have to look at you with that face on your face. Oh, she's her mother. She is all our mothers in that moment. And yet, it's a performance which is yet to be beaten. I nearly had Ethan Hawke in there for First Reformed as well. Was it anyone that just missed out on the top 5 for you?
Yeah, it's one of those ones I would have gone with someone like Andrew Garfield from Under the Silver Lake, Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, Sacha Lane, American Honey, Moyfred Clark in St. Maud. Oh, there's so many
good performances, and so many good films from A24. One of our favourite films of the last year or so, and basically the film that basically, if it hadn't got you through lockdown, it seemed like it was a bit of a joke at the beginning of lockdown, but it basically, the longer lockdown has gone on, it's probably become slightly more realistic, and that is The Lighthouse. And we were lucky enough to speak to Robert Eggers on the red carpet at the London Film Festival about what it was like to work with the Seagulls, and then Lee, you spoke with Valeriia Karaman about what it was like working with one of our favourite actors, Robert Pattinson.
It wasn't easy, but we knew that when we signed up for this. So it was challenging, and the scenes were really demanding, and the weather was terrible, so there wasn't a lot of chumming around. But we liked and respected and cared for each other and supported each other and saw each other through. And Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, incredible, and they just bring so much to every day. I mean, if I said to them, guys, you have to cut your hands off for this scene, Willem would have complained a little, but they both would have done it. Because it's my second movie, and they're Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. They're not auditioning for me, but I didn't who else is supposed to play those roles? So there was no question. and luckily they wanted to work with me before, so it was fast. Inspired by the past, I do a ton of research, and by trying to like stay locked in my study away with my head in the past, I think that sometimes people find what I'm doing to be unique because like my influences are dead, long dead.
I'm from the northeast Scotland. I can say
cool.
I can really sort of relate to Robert Pattinson's character and how he dealt with the circus. I have to ask, how was it working with the seagull, and how did you draw such an amazing performance out of it?
Believe it or not, it was played by three classically trained British seagulls. There's three seagulls in the UK named Lady, Tramp, and Johnny, and they collectively played our seagull. I had every seagull in the movie, actually, aside from the flying ones, which were in Cape Forshue, where we shot. They knew that our crew was a film source, so food source, so they stuck around. But anyway, the seagulls were incredibly intelligent, incredibly well trained, incredibly easy to work with. They knew their stuff. They came in, they knocked it out. Great British actors.
I have to say that it'll play very well in Aberdeen. There'll be a huge cheer when the seagull gets his comeuppance. I can tell you that.
Okay, good.
Robert, this is obviously your second film with A24. What's the collaboration like between you two to create such unique films?
They just leave me alone.
Easy as that?
Easy as that. The collaboration comes in to the marketing.
After obviously the success of The Witch, what ideas did you have in your head, and how long did it take to settle on The Lighthouse, or was this always the second film?
It wasn't a matter of settling. It took 5 years since The Witch premiered at Sundance, and I was working around the clock every day on various scripts and developing things, and this is just what got greenlit, my friend.
It's amazing to see that you've got the whole cast of The Witch here as well tonight. That must be really special as well. Has that bond kind of continued over the past 5 years? I know it's Black Phillip's missing, but everyone else is here.
Yeah, I love him. Not Black Phillip.
Of course.
He's a nightmare.
When you kind of mentioned the word sort of funny there, I was kind of drawn back to an interview with Robert Pattinson where there's so much been written and discussed about this mermaid vagina that this costume had. I know Patterson himself described it as quite funny. What was your
it was funny.
What was your take on this vagina for this mermaid? I think it's become something that's been memed, been talked about, articles about dissecting it. Everyone seems to have a take or thought on this mermaid vagina.
Actually, it was very funny. I was wondering before, when I just read the script, I was wondering how's it gonna look like sex between Rob and the mermaid, the human and the mermaid. How's it gonna be? She has a tail. And then when I saw it for the first time, I was like, what is this, guys? And they were like, actually, it's vagina of a white shark. It's a copy of a white shark's vagina, and it was super funny. And also some girl from the production, she told me something like, do you know that male sharks, they actually have not only one penis but 2 or 3, something like this? And I was like, oh really? Oh, interesting. And when we were filming the scene with this, and we had a lot of jokes about it, some a little bit sexual jokes with Pattinson, and I was telling him something like, okay man, chill, because anyways, male sharks, they have few dicks, which helps them, so la la la. And yeah, it was super funny. It was really really something, and everyone was super excited about it, and it was funny moments to film it. And I'm really sorry because some of the parts that we filmed, they cut it off the film. They didn't put it in, but at least I have it in my memory, and it's really funny. Yeah. The moment when we had sex was a little bit difficult for me because he was laughing all the time when we were filming that, and I had to have that serious, scary face with curled eyes, with white eyes and stuff like this. And I was asking him please, can you shut up for a few minutes? And he was laughing all the time. But that helped us to relax, sort of, because anyways, it's kind of uncomfortable situation. We're also humans, even though we are actors.
But yeah, it was cool. It was very easy. I'm very, very thankful to guys because William and Rob, they helped me a lot to feel secured and self-confident. Yeah, that was nice.
So yeah, Lee, what was it like to have her on the show? And I think thanks to her Instagram post, at the moment, at the time of recording, our most popular interview of all time.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It makes me happy when I see that's like our most popular. I know I sound like a bit of a broken record, but again, that's kind of what the point of this show is. Like, we're never going to get like some of the biggest names. We're not going to get like Tony Collette or anything like that.
Maybe one day.
Maybe, yeah. But there's something like that where you think we're like, yeah, like this film has like 4 actors in it, and we are going to get the people that, you know, aren't maybe getting the attention that others are, and tell their story and kind of shine a bit of a light on it. So you feel like, you know, there's people out there that will get Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. Well, we'll get the other people as well, and we'll kind of add to the oral history, hopefully, of something like the Lighthouse, I think.
Absolutely. Second last category now. We're getting nearly at the top spot. The second last category. Lee wanted us to discuss who we would put on our A24 Mount Rushmore. Whose faces would we carve into the side of a mountain that best, I guess, embody or represent A24 films? Lee, let's come to you first. Who have you selected to carve into rock?
So my thing is, I've gone like, I want a you know, gender split here. So I've got 2 men and 2 women. So I've got Robert Pattinson and Elle Fanning because like they're the most prolific so far, and I have gone with 2 directors as well, and I've gone with Barry Jenkins for obviously Moonlight, for obviously won the Oscar and gave A24 probably their holy grail at the time, and I've gone with Sofia Coppola as well. I think her involvement really early doors with signing up for A24 with the Bling Ring kind of gave them a bit of credibility at that stage. You know, we kind of talked about those first few episodes that the quality is a little bit up and down. You know, they missed out on things like Place Beyond the Pines, Frances Ha, and then Spring Breakers and kind of the Bling Ring both kind of really caught people's attention earlier on with their ad campaigns. But I think having someone like Sofia Coppola involved really caught people's attention and validated A24. So that would be my 4.
Okay. My 4, I've gone with 4.5. I've got Robert Pattinson on there. I've gone with Riley Keough for my prolific actress, because she's been in the likes of Unskin, American Honey, and she's also going to be in Zola. So I think with Zola, I think she will take the top spot for actresses who have been in the most A24 films. For the third spot, I'm giving half a face each to each of the Safdie brothers for their work on Good Times, and I think they'd be fine with it. You know, when they were doing their acceptance speech for Uncut Gems, they were talking over each other, so I'm sure they'd be fine to have half a face each. And for the fourth one, I've gone with a slightly odd choice, and it's the Oscar that went for the Best Picture for Moonlight, because I think it was such an incredible moment watching that show live when La La Land went up, and then it actually turned out, no, actually Moonlight, you've won. It's like one of the most incredible Oscar moments ever, and it really, like you say, it's the moment that I think A24 really arrived, and ever since then I think they've been unstoppable as like the independent American distributor. You know, from that point on, you just had Ladybirds, Hereditaries, First Reforms, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, that's when then you get Good Time, you get Uncut Gems, you get The Lighthouse, you get Midsummers and stuff like that. You know, you get Sofia Coppola, like say, returning to do On the Rocks and stuff like that. Now you've even got the Coens sort of working with A24, Darren Aronofsky and stuff like that. But that was really the sort of moment that I think kickstarted everything for A24, and I think that's why I'm going to put their Oscar on there, so you get the face of the Oscar on it.
Very good choice, good choice.
Cool, so we're now up to our final interview of the show, and we had to go with the bang, just like Howie and Uncut Gems. And it couldn't be anyone else. I know, poor Tayshoe, but never mind. I mean, it couldn't be anyone else, but the high roller himself, the whirling dervish. He's just, you know, a force of nature. Lee, I'm not sure how you managed to contain him in the podcast interview that you did, but here is the one, the only, Mr. Wayne Diamond.
They called me right away. We got a role for you, Wayne. Come on down, do a screen test. We need you to do the whole thing. So I went to Jennifer Vendetti, who's a terrific #1 cast director in New York. She says, "You're the guy." I mean, she liked me, you know. I did one of the scenes, and after that, they said, "You're in," and they were just the greatest. I did the movie, I did the part, but you know what? One guy, Ronald Bronstein, who wrote the screenplay, said, "Wayne," and who I know since he's a little kid from Oceanside, Long Island, he said to me, "Wayne, nobody's ever going to forget your role in this movie." I said, "This part, 20 minutes in a movie? Come on. I mean, I really had for the fourth largest part, believe it or not. I mean, in a movie, if you think about it." And I said, "You're crazy. I mean, look what I'm doing here. Carry bags, whatever I did." And it turned out that I can't go anywhere without nobody recognizing me. I mean, everybody knew me in Europe and here. You know, I'm a pretty well-known character. I'm a loudmouth. You know, everybody kind of knows me and likes me. You know, it worked out well. I mean, I liked a little bit of fame. And I think that I'm hoping to get me my next part with them in the next movie, which they said that I'm going to get something very big.
Touched on it there that you're well known, but then this film has skyrocketed you. There's something about you that people, hey, that's that guy from Uncut Gems, that last 20 minutes.
Who's that guy? Who's the guy?
When was the moment
because I have a look and I talk funny, you know, and I'm like, you know, people like me. People think I'm like, you know, they used to call me the legend in New York and in Miami. And in St. Tropez, hey, there's the legend, you know? And now it's like worldwide. I'm like so happy. It's like the greatest. And, you know, I'm a nice guy. I mean, I don't want to hurt nobody. I just want to make people laugh. I like making people laugh. That's what I like to do.
When was that moment that you realized, oh my God, your mate was right about this, that people are going to remember you from this role? Was there a moment when, like, the film started to come out?
I had no idea. No, you know what had happened, I guess? We went to the opening at the... Really, the first opening was in Telluride. I didn't bother going. But we went to TIFF in Toronto. And when I was sitting in the audience in Toronto watching the film with my family there, and then I came on with the helicopter, and I'm talking, and then I get out. Everybody in the theater was laughing for 20 minutes, hysterical after being the tension that we had. You know, the tension in the film. You saw the film, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've seen it quite a few times.
The tension, and all of a sudden... There he was, boom! I cut the tension by getting off that helicopter. Hey, baby, you know, whatever. You know, I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody, but that's what I knew when they were all laughing. Then I asked my friends when they went to different, you know, sightings of the film in New York, "What do you think?" Everybody laughed when you came on. So I kind of knew something was happening, you know. Now I go out, everybody, can I take a picture with you? You know, the funniest thing, look at the Safis, McLeod, Adam, I mean, Dina Mansell, they spent their whole life being great. I mean, terrific.
One of the things I think that everyone loves about your scenes together is the relationship between you and Julia Fox. You have great chemistry on screen. What was it like you two working together?
You know, the funniest thing with her was she was treating me like the whole time. I didn't understand that was a role, that all she was thinking about was Adam. You know, Adam was her love, her baby. You know, her baby. I didn't understand. I liked that we got along real good, like sometimes. And then sometimes she was just so mean to me. And I didn't understand why. I said to her, "Why are you so mean?" She didn't want to get out of her head, her part, you know? And I didn't get it. I had no clue. Because I didn't know her part. I only got my lines. That's what Safis do. They don't give you everybody else's lines, so you don't know what they're thinking. So, she was just a great chick. I mean, a great chick. I love being with her. She was a lot of fun. She's really cool. She's a really New York, down-to-earth New York girl. I don't know what she's doing in California. She's going to be back in New York. I mean, you don't belong out there. It's like being in Scotland, you know what I mean? And you live in London, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I was curious as well, once I discovered your background in sort of design and so on, is did you get much input in your characters' costumes and so on, and what you would imagine your character wearing? Or did the Safdie brothers have a very specific idea for how you would dress?
They know how I dressed. They know how I was. This is the way I look. I always wear black. I always look like this guy. But they wanted. All of a sudden, Josh tells the fashion director that he should be wearing leather pants. I mean, this is a joke. So she brings me a pair of pants that's like a 90-inch waist that weighed maybe 150 pounds. It was like something. If you were going to be in a fire, you put this on. So you didn't get burnt. I just said, hey, I'm not wearing these. I'm wearing my black jeans and what I'm wearing, and I wear my chrome watch, my long jacket, a nice, beautiful scarf, and that's it. And they went along with it because I wasn't going to wear that. I would have sweated to death, weighed so much. I like leather pants, but I'm a little old now,
Lee, I have to know, what was it like to speak to him? Because it's probably my favourite interview episode. I think he just has so many stories. It's just right. He's just a raconteur, and his entire Instagram is just him apparently just wearing a towel at home and nothing else. But did he wear a towel during your interview? Did you know?
No, I did. Like, it was quite a surreal interview. Like, there's definitely an uncut gems interview with him. Like, we started speaking and he was like, obviously Donald Trump is half Scottish and his golf course is here, and he was like immediately berating Donald Trump to me. And during the interview he just like started enjoying some whiskey and popcorn. Knock yourself out. Honestly, what a experience it was, interviewing the Wayne the Legend Diamond. That was like definitely one of my favorite experiences. Like, I was sitting on the other end going, oh my god, I cannot wait to tell Dallas about this one.
It's such a good interview, and I mean, all the interviews that you've done over the last 2 years have been incredible, but that one is just something else. But I encourage anyone listening, if you haven't already done, seek out that interview and actually just listen to all the interview episodes, because there's so many great stories about all these great films and sometimes not so great films, but it's nice that they come on anyway. And sort of don't hold it against us that we maybe have not given the kindest rating to their film during our review episodes. So it's now time. Final list of the night. It could be nothing else but our top 5 A24 films. I think that we're well qualified to give a ranking on this, given that we have actually seen every single A24 film that has been released. So shall we go turnabout again on this one?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Lee, what have you got at number 5?
Lady Bird.
For me, it's A Ghost Story. Number 4?
Uncut Gems.
Hereditary for me. Number 3?
Lighthouse.
For me, number 3 is Uncut Gems. Number 2?
A Ghost Story.
Moonlight for me at number 2. And number 1?
I think we're going to match on this one, and Under the Skin.
And it's Under the Skin for me as well. Ever since way back when, I think it was about episode 4 or 5 or something, we covered Uncut Gems. It's basically, I mean, it's been one of our favourite films, even if, technically, when I watched it, I didn't even know it was an A24 film. For me, it was a Film 4 film, I think. But to know that A24 distribute in America, good shout. And yeah, it's one of my favourite films of the last, I can't even say decade. No. Yeah, because basically, no, century, the last century. Just like, it's one of those films which I knew when watching it, that was like, I think this is brilliant, but I need to know again. I need to see it again. And then I watched it again and went, yeah, no, this is a masterpiece. And all much more better for the fact it was set in Glasgow and you can actually go walk around the route where Scarlett Johansson walked around in the Buchanan galleries and stuff like that. So why was it number 1 and why has it held the top spot for so long?
I think, like, I remembered when I watched it for the first time, like, I was looking forward to it based on sort of the trailers, and I went to see it in a cinema we both love, the Bellman Film House. Went to see it there, and it was just one of those ones, just like, it just was so unique in terms of how it presented the story, how it showcased our country. I just thought it was truly unforgettable and truly original, and I think that's why it kind of got as high as it did for me. Just a beautiful film, and probably one I'm maybe due a rewatch of.
Yeah, no, I need to give another spin. There's just been so many other A24 films that actually saying that on lockdown, I don't really have much excuse for not watching films. So yeah, I'll definitely give it another watch soon. I think it's because I've got it on Blu-ray. It's that thing, I've got all these Blu-rays at home, but I always end up watching stuff on Netflix or Prime and stuff like that, even though I keep banging on about physical media. It's an odd one. But yeah, no, that's our top 5. what are your top 5 A24 films? Have you made it to the end of the project yet? Have you watched the entire back catalogue? Let us know. As always, if you've listened to the show and you like the show, please pop onto iTunes, give us a review, 5 stars if you want. You can give us less. We won't hold it against you, even though we'll probably find your name and go Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back style and hunt you down in real life, once we're allowed to. So you've got time. You've got time before we're allowed to do that. But moving forward with the project, it's going to be a while before we get any new films potentially. But we've been sort of delving into the TV hemisphere for a while. We've both watched the entire series of Moonbase 8. We've got that coming up. We're going to be watching the Euphoria specials and doing an episode of that. But Lee, you've got a few more interviews in the bag. Do you want to tease who we might hear from in the next wee while?
Exactly. So next week, before sort of our Minari episode, we will have an interview with Jimena Madrid about her role in On the Rocks. We've got Augustine Fizell, and we've got a few guests that we're looking to we'll be recording with soon as well that have been involved in Moonbase 8. So that'll be something to look forward to as well. So yeah, and I think we'll maybe try a few different episodes. You know, a little kind of different formats and stuff like that. You know, the odd little special episode here and there as well. So that's something to look forward to too.
Absolutely. So we hope that you've all enjoyed all 100 episodes so far. What the world will look like and what the state of the A24 slate will look like by the time we reach episode 200, who knows? But it's going to be quite the journey getting there. But thank you all for taking this journey with us so far, and long may the project continue. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.